Hey all, Pi here, and we are back in our life, beginnings and always, and we were just about to start the next moment in step 2, which is family. The sun warmed your skin from its place in the sky, and you closed your eyes, enjoying the mix of heat with the pleasant breeze that drifted past you. You and Lee had spread out a blanket on top of the hills behind your house and had been relaxing there for a while now. Who's Lee? Lee had come over. I don't remember this kid. Lee had come over earlier in the day, and while a range of activities had been discussed, from staying home to heading down to the beach, a picnic on the hill had been the choice you both settled on. A small spread was laid out in front of you. Some bottled water, soft drinks, as well as chips and a sliced fruit. Oh wait, no, Lee's my cousin, isn't she? I don't remember. You sat up and reached for a snack, listening to Lee talk away about the musical she had gotten to see a few days ago. Yep, that's my cousin. Okay. I'm sorry for forgetting about you, Lee. It's been a long-ass week, long-ass month. It was unbelievable. There was singing, dancing, and crazy stunts, and it was all done live right in front of my face. Maybe one day we could go together. I've got to see more shows like that. You smiled at Lee's enthusiasm, knowing how much she enjoyed singing and performing. And she was good at it, too. You had gotten the chance to hear her sing a couple of times, and you knew she put a lot of effort into it. So, personally, I grew up in a family of choir singers. They all have beautiful voices, and I do not. My singing is atrocious. I really can't carry a tune, but I did inherit the ear, so I don't know, it's a pain. I'm kind of stuck between liking to sing but not being good at it, and not being good at it and being fine with that. We'll go with that one, because that's the most accurate one. Like, I do enjoy singing, but I hear just how bad I suck, so I usually don't. That didn't stop you from doing it, though. Lies. I wonder if maybe we could put on our own show. Think of how fun it'd be. We could perform for our parents and ask our friends and some other people to come and watch too. It'd totally work. I don't know about that. The idea gave you stage fright. But wouldn't showing off to everyone be fun? The thought of an audience made you feel queasy. Not really.
Are you sure?
Are you really super sure? You have so many skills you could show off to the masses. I want to see where this goes, so I'm gonna give in to peer pressure. But, any kids who may or may not be watching this, first of all, I didn't make this for you, so make sure you have your parents' permission to be here. And, 2, don't give in to peer pressure. You could see that Lee was really excited about the idea, so with a small nod of your head, you agreed to go along with it. That was so cute. I'm gonna sing. Do you want to too, or maybe do something else? Ooh, this is me right here. I'll make a backdrop or some kind of stage. I was in theater tech. That was my art credit in high school. Yes, that'd make it a real show. So personally, my strongest skill is sewing, but I don't quite know what sewing a backdrop is going to entail. Like maybe a curtain? Maybe some curtains? Is that what I'm talking about here? I don't know, let's see. You were pretty handy with the needle and thread, and you had your own little sewing box in your room back home. True. Is there anything else that's coming to your head? No? I wonder what the one more thing would have been. The two of you ran back to your house to grab the supplies you needed, dodging your mom's amused questions before heading back out to the blanket to get started. You set your sewing box beside you on the blanket and spread out the fabric you had grabbed to use for the backdrop. Lee and you discussed the plans in detail, settling on a song first and then practicing out parts for the show. The afternoon passed quickly, and the sun dropping lower and lower in the sky, and after having thoroughly worked out how the show was going to go, you decided to take a break. Oh, you know, we should have invited Cove to watch us practice our show. He could tell us if it's bad before we put on the real thing. You guessed that would have been okay. It might have been nice for Cove to be there, but she felt weird when thinking about him watching the show. We could ask him to watch us another time. Maybe. It's too bad Derek isn't in the neighborhood today. I like him. Ooh, do you now? Yeah, he's a good person. I knew you'd think so. But, speaking of boys we like, what's the relationship status between you and Cove? Is it good? Lee! You blushed and said nothing. Ooh, you're bright red? I guess it's very good. But, like, really, are you gonna be telling him you have a crush on him anytime soon, or what? I'm pretty sure he already knows. Pretty sure isn't sure. You should declare it to him. You mumbled something incoherent, and she gave you a pointed look. You know that he has a crush on you, too. It's obvious for him. It's obvious for you. Why not just do it? You didn't say anything, wondering about the possibilities ahead. The two of you talked a little more about Cove, amongst other topics, and you found it was nice having someone to speak with about these sorts of things. Finally, you both decided to pack everything up and head back home for the evening. Lee talked excitedly about the show as you did, and you thought back on what you had already accomplished for it. You could definitely do with a little more practice, but what you had so far was a solid foundation for the performance. Oh, hello. Upon walking through the front door, you were met by your moms and Elizabeth hovering around each other in the living room. Tension hung thick in the air as the three of them turned to you and Lee, frowning slightly. You had interrupted something. Exactly what, you weren't sure. What's going on? Your moms looked at each other, wondering which one of them was going to speak first. Eventually, Mom cleared her throat and spoke.
Oh.
We're just having a talk with your sister. The room fell quiet again, but with no one quite knowing what to say. You felt incredibly awkward, but the silence didn't last long. You don't have to stop just because those two are here. There's no reason to try keeping it secret. Elizabeth was mad, with her arms folded offensively over her chest, but your mom's nodded in agreement with her.
Well...
Elizabeth was asking about her parents. Her biological ones. Oh. The world spun around you at the news. You couldn't understand. Why was this happening now? When you glanced at Lee, she shuffled her feet uncomfortably, as though she didn't know if she should be there or not anymore. You didn't know either. Your moms had always been open and honest about the fact that neither of them had given birth to you or your sister, but the details hadn't been fully explained before. It made sense that Elizabeth didn't know a lot about her biological parents and wanted to know more. You just had never thought you'd accidentally stumble into it. Elizabeth looked at your parents expectantly. She wasn't going to let the unintentional interruption derail things. We don't want to keep that information from you either. It's your right to know your past. But we did want to wait until you asked us to hear yourselves. Well, it's happening now, so... Your moms shared a nervous glance, and Ma took a quick breath before speaking again. I adopted you from the Philippines when you were just a baby. Elizabeth dropped her arms, her eyebrows shooting upward in surprise. Wait, I wasn't born here?
No.
No, you weren't. You could clearly see that your sister was appalled by this information. You struggled even more with what to do or how to react. Am I gonna have to pass some test to even be a citizen?
No.
No, you were adopted into the country. We took care of things. You're already a citizen. You have nothing to worry about. I followed all the laws when it came to bringing a child into the U.S. Nothing can be held against you. Elizabeth sighed, placated with the information, but still far from happy. Who are my parents? As people, why did they put me up for adoption in the first place? Ma softly put her hands over Elizabeth's shoulder, trying to provide some support before she gave her answer.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry, sweetie. Your parents were reported to have died. They didn't go into details on the specifics of how, but you were an orphan. I wish we had better news for you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth was torn between emotions, her eyes filled with tears as she threw her hands in the air, settling on enraged. Great, so I could never meet them, even though I wanted to. Not that I could have anyway, since they live in another part of the world where they were still alive. Or when they were still alive. Elizabeth turned her back on you and your moms and stormed off, sprinting up the stairs to enter her room before anyone could stop her. I have to go and talk to her. Ma immediately started to follow her, but Mom gently held her by the arm and shook her head. We should give her a little space to process it all. Your ma's head hung low, but she stopped walking. With Elizabeth now gone, the two of them seemed to remember you and Lee were still standing awkwardly off to the side. I'm sorry you had to see all that. It's not how I expected it would have happened when the time came. But since it's the topic of the day, Joy, is there anything you'd like to ask? You deserve to know, after all. Lee patted your back and gave you a supportive look. So, personally, I was not adopted. Both of my biological parents are alive and well, and they're the ones who raised me. So, personally, I cannot even begin to understand exactly what this feels like. But I have to imagine that if I truly knew nothing about my biological parents, just based off of things that I have been through in my life, I would want to know as much about them as I could, because knowing what I know about them has helped me with certain things, particularly chronic health conditions that I have, knowing that yes, this came from my parents, or no, this didn't come from my parents, I'm the first. Those are really important questions. So, I'll say I want to know. Your parents both nodded in sync to your reply, ready to talk. I can leave if you want to have things be private. I want you to be here. I can do that. Lee shifted a little closer to you in support, and you were glad to have her there with you. It made you feel a little stronger somehow. You turned to face your parents again, preparing yourselves for what they were about to tell you. Ma was the first to speak, her voice quivering with emotion. You were adopted as a baby, but 2 years after Elizabeth. We used a different organization that time, and you were adopted within the U.S. We're sorry to tell you, Joy. Your parents had also passed away, and no other family member took you in, if there were any. That's why we wanted to wait until you asked. We didn't want to suddenly drop that in your lap. We wanted you to be prepared.
I'm sorry.
We're sorry, Joy. Leaf gave you a reassuring squeeze on the arm to show that she was there for you. It's not your fault. You didn't kill them, right? You were trying to lighten the mood, but your moms didn't seem any less grim. Thank you for listening, Joy. If there's anything else you want to know, all you have to do is ask. We'll do our best to answer any questions you have.
Are you okay?
How are you feeling now? Are you going to be okay? Lee watched you closely, as though judging how exactly she could react to what was going on. You held back tears, but you weren't fine at all. I'm not okay. We're sorry, Joy. Your mom's looked just as sad as you felt. No one seemed to have any words after that. You wanted to get out of the house. I'm gonna go out just for a little while. I'll be back before it's really late. Your mom's nodded in understanding, trusting you to make the best call for yourself. Lee's footsteps echoed from behind, and you knew she was following you. You said nothing. If she wanted to come, she could. Without knowing where you really wanted to go, you began to walk down the street quietly, dragging your feet. Lee's footsteps echoed on the pavement behind you as she caught up, falling into step beside you. You turned and kept going, unsure of what else to do. Being upset had blinded you to everything, and you wanted nothing more than to just get away from it all. Eventually you found yourself at the beach, your feet sinking into the soft sand while you looked out over the ocean. You took off your shoes and paced the sand over the water's edge, letting the cool ocean swirl around your bare feet. It was comforting being there, with the ocean breeze rustling your red hair and the smell of salty water filling your nostrils. Eventually you took a seat down on the ground, watching the sun as it dipped down further and further towards the horizon before it disappeared completely. Your cousin stalwartly kept you company without trying to force you into speaking. The sky shifted from blue and pink to orange, and then the deep blue of night. A sudden shout drew your attention away from the sea. Someone was calling your name. Your head snapped to the source of the yells. At the edge of the beach, where grass met the sand, was a silhouette in the darkness. But the person was still unmistakable to you. It was Cove. What was he doing here? His eyes settled on you ahead. Realizing you were, in fact, there, he rushed down the shore to where you sat. You could tell he was out of breath when he approached. You rose to meet him. Cove, did something happen? No, not to me anyway. I wanted to know what happened to you. I went to your house to say hi, but your parents said you were gone, that you needed to get away.
What's wrong?
I mean, I had to think something was going on after something like that, so I came to find you. Cove is a good boy. Lee gave him a smile, but put a supportive hand on your shoulder as you now had to try to explain this to someone. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you're here. Cove's forehead furrowed in concern at your words. My mom and dad who gave birth to me, they're dead. Oof. Again, I have never been in this position because both of my biological parents are alive. But I cannot imagine having to communicate this to someone. It's just This is some heavy stuff. Without having to say anything else, Cove reached out and pulled you into a tight embrace, his familiar warmth enveloping you. I'm sorry, Joy. His words were whispered comfortingly into your shoulder. You started to cry. You pressed your face into the into the crook of his neck, unable to stop the tears. The hold he had on you tightened. Can you explain everything to me? You nodded softly before taking in a heavy breath and launching into the story. Cove sat quietly and listened attentively, nodding every now and then or taking in a sharp inhale. It took a long time for you to relay the details. Dozens of stars were pinpointed in the sky as the night wore on. Silence settled between you as Cove sat quietly for a moment, contemplating everything you had said. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, drifting through the night towards you.
Joy,
Joy,
I'm so sorry.
I'm really sorry about what happened to your parents. So sorry. He stopped suddenly and then took a deep breath. And then took in a deep, shaky breath, and you got to the impression he was struggling with what was right to say. I'm sad I'll never get to know them. I'll never find out what they're doing or what they're like as people. It's just all gone.
Joy,
You're not doing anything wrong. You know that, right? I think that you can be as sad as you want for as long as you need. Or you can feel okay about it whenever you want to, too. He sighed and ran a hand through his hair as he looked out over the ocean.
it's okay.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, whatever you feel about it is how you feel about it. You don't have to force yourself to be different. You nodded. You couldn't offer more than that, but you didn't need more. Cove smiled at you a little, and you could tell he was trying to be comforting. And your moms definitely don't. It doesn't matter if you're not blood related, you're definitely family. I can see that, and I hope you can too. You felt the reassurance in his eyes. Your cousin tried not to interrupt your explanation or Cove's response to it. When the opportunity arose, she made it clear she shared the same sentiment. Whoa. Okay, that was weird. Thanks for ruining the moment, computer glitches. Hey. The sudden voice of your sister behind you made you jump. You saw her standing a little ways away. She walked closer, and you didn't quite know what to do or what she was planning on saying.
So?
Would you mind going? I want to talk to just Joy. You can come back. It's not gonna be forever or anything. Cove seemed equal parts concerned and skeptical. Leaving now wasn't a concept that thrilled him. Lee wasn't exactly jumping to go, so she checked with you quietly. What do you think? I want to talk to you too.
Really?
Oh, then we're on the same page. She made a little move-along gesture with her hands, and it was settled. You waited until the two of you were alone before fixing her with an inquisitive look. Elizabeth folded her arms, looking you over. Did Moms tell you about your parents too? My birth parents also died. Elizabeth broke eye contact after that.
Sorry.
Why did you want to talk to me? Elizabeth raised an eyebrow at the question, as though the answer should be obvious. I was worried about you. I was the one who brought it up, but I made you deal with whatever was left when I was gone. She sighed, glancing upwards for a moment before settling on you once more. I wanted to ask you what happened without everyone breathing down our necks. Thank you for thinking of me. She stuck her nose up a little at that, but her smile was soft. All of this, it upset me. She slipped back into a scowl. I'm sorry, Joy. It's a pretty depressing topic. Yeah. You have to be born in the US to become a president. What? You had never heard of that dream of hers before. She noticed your bafflement and continued. I get I was never gonna be president, but it just feels weird, having stuff taken away, not even getting a chance at it. I don't like having to know that when I was born, I was gonna have a completely different life. So different I can't even think about what it'd look like in my head. I could have spoken another language, lived away from everything I've ever seen here, had someone else as my sibling. And then my parents died, and I was adopted. The life I got became a totally new thing forever. I can't go back to what it was, even if I wanted to. A heaviness settled between you and the person who became your sister. You knew exactly how she felt. It was a confusing feeling, to have lived one way for as long as you can remember, but not having it be what was originally yours. Elizabeth watched you seriously. She was still trying to make sense of this, to you and herself. I don't know why today was the day. Nothing came up to make me ask the question. It was just something I've had in my head for a while. When it was just me and Mom's in the living room, I just kind of said it finally, and there you go. She shifted from one foot to another, relaxing her stance just a bit. She also spoke more gently. Learning about them and what happened doesn't change how I feel about our family, Joy. She smirked, fixing you with sharp eyes. I had already figured it out a long time ago that Moms weren't our biological parents. That wasn't news. You kept listening to Elizabeth. Nothing about the family I was first born in would have made me decide that this wasn't my family anymore. If you had hoped you'd be free of my big sisterly status, don't think you're so lucky. She bumped her shoulder against yours playfully, her lips tilted at the corners.
You'll always be my little sibling.
Aww. You hugged her. It took a few seconds, but she gave you a quick squeeze in return. You'll always be my family, too. Chuckling, she seemed pleased with how the conversation had gone in the end. Ready to head back home? It's been a long day. You gave her a nod.
Come on.
Come on, you three, let's go. You walked home together in comfortable silence, down to the well-worn street. The familiarity of it all felt nice. When you stepped through the door, you found your moms quietly sitting together at the kitchen table. Their heads snapped up, and they got to their feet to meet you, Ma giving you a careful smile. We're so glad to see you. I'm sorry for walking away before. It's alright, sweetheart. We're just happy to have you here again. Ma then came over and wrapped her arms around you and Elizabeth, giving you a tight hug. It didn't take long for Mom to join in, putting her arms around the both of you.
Love you.
We really couldn't have asked for better, kiddos. We love you. More than we could ever say. Moms. You were so glad your moms were alright. I love you too. You let them hug you for as long as they needed, and it was a nice moment shared between you. They both pulled back eventually and grinned at the two of you, and you knew that you all had each other, and you always would. Well now, since we're all here, how about we do something together as a family? That sounds like an excellent idea. We should have some fun before the night's over.
Totally!
I love the sound of that. Is Cove still here? Yes, Cove's still here. Okay. Cove looked a little bashful, likely over being included as part of the family, but he tried not to pay much attention to it. Aww. Why not? You hid the smile that threatened to tilt your lips, knowing that Elizabeth must have been in a good mood if she hadn't even teased Cove for being part of it. And no matter what she could have said about it, you wanted him to be here. He was someone who was really important to you. Who's got a suggestion? It should be something we can do here in the house with everyone in the same room. You suddenly remembered the show you and Lee had been working on earlier. Maybe we can do our show?
Oh.
A show? This is the first time we're hearing of this. I'm intrigued.
Wonderful.
It would be amazing if you put it on for us to watch. Oh yeah, I need to see what you've cooked up. That'd be cool. Aw. You smiled at Lee, who returned the gesture while bouncing on her heels in excitement. Take some seats and we'll get everything together. Your moms collected the chairs from around the dining table and set them in a row in the living room where there was enough space for the show. While they did that, you and Lee quickly gathered the supplies you needed and rehashed the plan one last time. You listened through the song you had chosen one last time. The backdrop you had prepared earlier was also ready to go now that it was needed. When the two of you returned to the living room, everyone sitting and chatting amongst themselves while they waited. The group quieted down when you and Lee stood in front of them on your makeshift stage. Lee was buzzing quietly with excitement beside you. You felt nervous all of a sudden. No matter how small the audience was, it was still all eyes on you. Okay, so, welcome to our show. We only came up with it today, but we promise it'll be good. No refunds. Laughter rippled through the mini audience. Then you nodded at Lee and that you were ready to begin. He took in a deep breath, waiting the few beats it took to get into the song, and started singing. The backdrop you had created gave a great atmosphere to work off of. When the performance was over, Lee took your hand in hers, and the two of you bowed deeply together. Everyone gave you a round of applause and cheered for an encore. When you straightened yourself up, you were happy to see that even Elizabeth was clapping for you. Bravo! Bravo!
Good job.
You are so talented. Your family rose from their seats and came over to congratulate you more directly. You were beaming from ear to ear. Poe was the first one to approach, stepping up to you and Lee with a smile on his face.
It's nice.
Nice job. Thank you. Hey, were you the one who sewed the backdrop? Yeah, that was me. Poe smiled, contented over his guess being correct.
Not bad.
I thought so. It was good. You couldn't help but feel flattered that he could recognize your talent so easily. Your parents gushed about how great everything was, and thanked you for sharing it with them. Elizabeth was complimentary in her own way, although she did describe the show as cute, which you knew she meant as kind of kitty. You laughed it off, however, and were just happy that everyone had a nice time. In that moment, you couldn't have been more pleased to be a part of the family you had. Ooh. Okay. That was a lot heavier than I was prepared for. Ooh. Yeah. I don't know how to respond to all of that. Like, I am 110% behind the concept of found family and adoptive family. So, yeah, that's about as coherent of a thought as I have in my head right now. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm gonna have to cut it here because, once again, my time is limited. These moments are getting longer. We'll hit dinner in the next one, and then probably road trip after that, and then we'll finally end the summer. This is turning out to be quite a long series, but you know what? I like it. It's nice. This is such an emotional journey for me. I was not thinking it was gonna be this much when I picked it up. But I'm not really complaining, you know? It's good. It's very good. I hope you guys agree, because you're stuck with it for a while, so like it or else. Anyway, I hope to see you all again in 2 weeks.